This is One Ogden. I'm John Miles.
Resonomics here. I want to let the good people of Ogden know that I have taken over the One Ogden podcast. You see, John Miles, the host of this show, has interviewed a lot of people, but no one has interviewed him. That host is gone now, and he's left me in charge.
Oh, wait, I don't want to talk about me.
Now I can be theatrical, maybe even a little rough, but I am an artiste, and I love a good party. So, commence au festival.
I'll be honest, I don't like the feeling of being interviewed. It feels...
Yeah, you shouldn't.
You don't like being on the other side?
No.
Welcome to the One Ogden podcast, Resonomics Takeover. I'm Resonomics, and I thought one day, John Miles, he's an interviewer, and all he does is interview people. But why doesn't anybody interview him? So that's why we're here today. Meet John Miles, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi. Thank you.
John,
Thanks
do you
for
go by
doing
any aliases or anything?
My wife calls me G-Spot.
G-Spot Johnny.
He clearly knows where that is, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't that right, Sheena?
That's right.
Okay, well, what about One Ogden?
Ogden.
That's where I was going with this. Juan Ogden.
I forgot that was the new one.
Please tell me a little more about Juan Ogden.
One Ogden came from just hanging out with Amazing Mike, and he kept saying One Ogden. Because I think for a long time, he didn't even know my name. We were just like hanging out, and I'd call him Amazing, and he'd call me One Ogden.
Yeah. And he's got that super heavy accent, so I could see how one turned
I would just hear a one a lot.
That's brilliant. That's how the best aliases are made.
Yeah, man. And like I wanted a musician name. I've got a whole big list of bad musician names because I think as soon as I decide an artist name, I'm going to release some music.
I find that might outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have thought of that, to tell you the truth. That's brilliant. Copyrighted. Don't let anybody get any ideas here. I swear to gosh.
It's mine now.
Yeah, it's certainly.
Are we not allowed to swear here? Should we not swear?
I don't know. I say that just. Let's swear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, I'm looking over here, Sheena. I'm just trying to be respectful.
She'll cringe every time.
She doesn't
you
swear,
say
does she?
Never.
I never swear.
Let's get into like the basic stuff, Juan. Where did you grow up?
South Ogden, up by Glassman Way. We had like 4 different houses there because we loved the ward. So we stayed in that neighborhood.
I see. So which brought me to my next question, Bonneville?
Yeah,
High school?
Bonneville. South Junior High.
You're a Laker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a wicked jump shot?
No, I didn't do.
Did you play any sports?
I played football in junior high, but they put me on the line because I was a big guy. And that wasn't football at all to me. That wasn't fun. So
dude,
I stopped.
I was a little guy, and I was like, put me on the line, and I quit football, but I went to a practice, so it's not like I didn't even show up.
I quit. Yeah. They wanted me to start offense and defense, and I was like, this is hard and not fun. No thank you.
Yeah, dude, lineman was crazy. I was like, where do you get those pads for your forearms? I'm getting bopped in my face right now. Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Other kids had upgrades I couldn't afford.
What year did you graduate? Should we get into numbers here? What year did you graduate?
01.
01, yeah, okay. So you probably knew a lot of people from the Washington terrorist area.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Watching it, because the sheriffs that patrolled it. They didn't have their own police force. So the Washington terrorists.
Dude, but for us, we were in the in crowd. Like all those sheriffs were our school cops, and so we knew them all, and they would always let us go. But we did once do a thing right in that, I think right as soon as we graduated that summer, we got arrested for some mischief there on 300 West in the Terrace.
Yeah, that's the main drag of the Terrace. Goes all the way down to...
Oh yeah, everybody drove by. The cops pulled guns on us, which to me seemed excessive. Yeah. But everybody was driving by on that street. And the newspaper called us terrorists for some reason.
Okay, what infraction were you committing?
It was airsoft guns. We had airsoft guns.
Those look real.
And I had a convertible. And, those things added up.
The drive-by.
So you're right. That does look real. And the cop, he said, where's the gun? And we were all like, we don't have a gun. And then he was like, where's the BB gun? So like they knew that it was fake.
Oh, okay.
But they still had their guns on us.
Oh, I get it. I mean, you got
But my friend did have an afro, Polynesian kid. He had a comb sticking sticking up out of it. So
driving while picking your hair.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That is That's really what we got pulled over for.
Well, next time put a hat on. Okay. Oh, this is in high school. What was your favorite music?
Blink-182, Newfound Glory, the Ataris.
Okay.
I listened to a lot of that, and then a bunch of Snoop Dogg and Tupac.
Yeah, you remember Gin and Juice back in those days?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Man.
And in that same time, I also met Snoop Dogg at Applebee's.
What?
I was a host. Jermaine Dupri walks in. He's like, can we sit at the bar?
Riverdale?
Yeah.
What?
It was the day after the Up and Smoke tour.
Oh, I went to that.
Yeah. I think it was 2001 probably.
Oh man, I went to that.
And they were going to Boise. Snoop Dogg stopped all the employees from Media Play and Circuit City, made this huge line, and I just walked up to him with a marker. That was like my shortcut. I was like, because he was writing with like a pen. I was like, you want this marker?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm just rolling, dog, just rolling. That was all I needed. He signed a $1 bill for me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Snoop Doggy Dogg. Being a podcaster, do you listen to podcasts? And what are your favorites? Because I'm sure you do listen to podcasts.
Yeah. I used to listen to a lot of NPR podcasts, but then I got tired of listening to the news all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my podcasts are real, like, waste of time. Just like talk about movies, like Doug Loves Movies I got into for a while. I got this one from Australia called The Weekly Planet I always listen to.
Have you ever thought of, so I do like Drink Champs. That's like, have you ever thought of having a podcast where you get shit-faced? But was that what y'all did? You guys were just talking. That wasn't the premise. That was just the side note, right?
Well, no. The premise was get together and drink some drinks with the good spirits, and it was fun. But I can't decide if that's a podcast. Like, I don't know if that's just social media shit. I don't know if that is going to be like a YouTube video, because I don't know if you can do drinks. Like, we did the whole set out the stuff and mix the drinks and explain it and shit. It feels like a fluff news segment, you know?
Right. Well, like, were you thinking like promo content type? Maybe. Is that what you meant by social media shit? Like,
I think so. Like, I mean, it's easy to cut it up into a minute or 5 minutes or whatever and just throw it up there. But I don't know how much life that has. You got to like keep recycling that. True. I feel like.
And it's like, how much?
I think if I can like maybe do some additional narration that like describes what's going on in a way that it can work for both a video and a podcast, then maybe that'll work. Like, I think it will be a podcast episode eventually.
Turn it into.
But I think it'll be. I think I'm switching up the format. Like, the format has been what it is because it's supposed to be easy.
Yeah, tell me about the format you've been doing and what. Unless it's top secret, you don't. I always like to move in silence. That's kind of my thing. But
yeah,
what
I mean, I do like to move in silence, but also I like to answer questions.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Let's get into it. So, explain your format.
Yeah, so the whole thing originally was just it was all about whoever the guest is and the spotlight's on them, and it's just all them. It's all that face in Ogden, and then let's show as many faces of Ogden as we can, you know. And so, you know, it just weaves together that way, and that's been fine. Like, I wanted it because it wasn't going to take a whole lot of extra work, which is like a whole other rabbit hole. You know, the reason that media doesn't last around here is because it's not very. Right. It's not easy to make money on something like this. So you have to go into it with the expectation that you're not going to make money.
True. So
then you have to say, well, then I got to make it real easy on myself so that it's sustainable. And so that was the goal. But I also I also really wanted to learn how to edit videos. Part of it was just give myself a reason to have projects to work on. And so now, like, I like the video element, and I think that, you know, people communicate that way a lot more often. And so you can get stuff in front of a lot more people with that kind of stuff.
We are visual creatures, but I feel so like when you said, as you were going about it, you were learning video editing, you were learning probably sound editing, EQing, you know, what light looks good and things. I am a firm believer because with my music, I just barely made $1 million off streaming, so
Nice.
we're gonna have to wrap this up here pretty soon. No, but like with you got to do it for the love of it, and but you're gaining the knowledge, so it's like a trial and error process. So you're actually learning through it too. So did you want to say where you might be headed now?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been a struggle for a while to like really feel like the narrative is getting clearly told or as concisely told as it can be without a little bit of intervention from me. So that's been a thing I've always struggled with, but I haven't known how to it hasn't felt right to kind of insert myself. It hasn't fit with the format, but there just came a point where I was like, you gotta work out what that's going to look like. And so I've spent a lot of time just thinking about, what can it look like to include more like, I make a comment in between things. So the other part of it is I always wanted it to be like an NPR podcast. Like podcasts now are very like conversational and focused on that kind of thing. And I get that works for a lot of certain kinds of podcasts. But there was this other kind of podcast, like I said, the ones I started with, or this NPR, you've got a host. They maybe have a little bit to say, but then most of the story is the other stuff.
Yeah, and it's a whole different person in a different location talking about something. Because I used to... Yeah, I was banging that shit out every morning, driving my kids to school. But what's the fucking news today?
Right.
And I kind of stopped too. Actually.
Well, and what it means, like from a production side, is that you've got to have a couple of different guests on a similar topic. Really, is relating
to the same thing we're talking about here. Yeah,
and then the person's got to jump in between them and kind of weave that narrative together. And so. Yeah, I just had to figure out how I was going to do that. And now I think I've got an idea of that. And
all right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like how you kind of gave us an idea without,
it's because I haven't totally figured it out yet.
Oh, here. See, this question came to me because the other day I was at the grocery store and some motherfucker didn't put his shopping cart back. And I was like, I can't fucking stand these people. Excuse my language. I can't stand people that don't put their shopping carts back. I cannot stand it. What can't you stand, John?
Oh, geez. I mean, I'm not very easy to piss off.
You a laid back dude.
I am. Pretty laid back dude. I get pissed off when I'm driving. Mm-hmm. I'll get mad about people not paying attention. Okay, yeah. Lately, what pisses me off, dude? Okay. You're pulling into a parking lot. As soon as you get into the parking lot, you think you're golden to start fucking scrolling your phone or calling whoever you need to. Pull into a spot. Or on the other side, there's all kinds of people who get in their car, pull out of their spot, get to one of those stop signs in the parking lot, and then they get on their phone. It's like, just stay in your spot and do that shit and then go out where everybody else is trying to get through.
Yeah. Oh, would you also say that relates to when you're in the store and they're, I mean, being aware of your surroundings, that's a good piece of advice for anybody. I mean, you're going to get your purse snatched or something like, is it consideration? Can we say inconsiderate?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Hell yeah.
It all relates. It's like an NPR episode.
Yeah.
My daughter works at the Smiths pushing carts. So maybe we'll take this down to her and interview her and we'll do an NPR style.
I like that. Yeah. Out on the street, we can do that.
Yeah.
We're set up for that.
On the street. Yeah.
But yeah, walk in the walking area and park in the parking area.
Can you tell me how there's a 2-part question here. How you get the interviews and what interview did you try to get that flat out told you no?
Well, so yeah, the interviews, sometimes I know people or I know people that know people. And that was a lot of it for a while. Sometimes once I would get, like, for example, once I got John Greiner, who was running for mayor, and so he was more motivated to talk to me, then that made me feel like other people might, like from the police or maybe more, I don't know, just more authoritative people who aren't necessarily, into this kind of stuff.
Right. Or it doesn't benefit them particularly to come on a podcast.
Right. Yeah, but some of them would get more. The Children's Justice Center guy, because he was a policeman, he told me some other good policemen, hooked me in with like the Junction City Justice guys who have also been.
Which I started listening to those podcasts because of your podcast.
Yeah. And like, you know, so they'll plug me in. Like I'll try to work through network sometimes, but sometimes I'll just straight reach out to people. As far as getting rejected, there's like, I mean, Sammy Brew keeps saying yes. And then he's like, shit, man, I got some stuff going on.
Sammy.
He knows it. It's cool.
Yeah, Sammy was later on down the line in the questioning, but Sammy, let's get you on the podcast.
Well, and so I went and talked to his dad, which was great. That was almost a better person to ask some of the things I was really curious about the business stuff, you know. So that was a really great conversation. And then
he's like the manager, right? Kind of.
Well, kind of. After that interview, I got to just sit and hang out with Sammy Brew for like forever. You know, we were just hanging out and chilling and that's some of my favorite stuff. I always have I always think about me and you and Deanne sitting after that show. Like sometimes we have the best conversations.
Yeah.
Once the mics are off.
I had told my associate essay that the real shit came out in the fourth quarter that day.
Yeah.
Because that's where I was like, oh man, I forgot I said that.
Yeah.
Because I was dropping names and shit. But
well, then
what do you do?
I only put that on Patreon.
I know.
And I think I listened, like, I think everything we said was pretty, you know.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
But you know, there's only like 10 people who are allowed to hear that.
Right.
Unless you want to join the Patreon.
Join the Patreon. I've been a Patreon patron for like fucking damn near a year.
Yeah.
Right. It's what little you can do to support the local businesses, local art, local podcasts, local anything. Like definitely spend money on the little people, man. That's
yeah, man. I think people take that so for granted. Like find a way to inject money into the stuff you like about your community.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sammy Brew, I went and bought a shirt. Fuck, have I bought anything from you? I don't know if I have.
I don't have nothing yet. I'm working on it right now. I actually have a logo now, a Resonomics logo. And I'm like, shit.
I made up that logo for you where I dropped those sunglasses on it.
Oh yeah, no, that was dope. Yeah. No, see, this is something I'm not going to speak on because I do not want to tell anybody any ideas. I kind of hoard my ideas. We could do this off camera later, but yeah. That's so really you haven't bought anything from me because my store is not open. So don't worry about that. But yeah,
people should always look for a way, find a way to support. I mean, I guess I've come to your shows. I went to your showcase.
You've came to multiple shows.
2 showcases.
Yeah. You and Sheena came on May the 4th.
That's what I like about you. You're doing your own One Ogden thing with your music. You're like, let's put together a bill of 7 of us and put on a show.
Yeah. Oh, damn. All right. Well, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, that this interview isn't about me, but 2025 is the year.
It's one of those things I like about you. Like I noticed once I started trying to get more involved in the city, there are people like you can kind of tell who are the people who are in it for the city, the people who are just kind of trying to find a way to fit into that and make it grow. And like those people are all gravitating together and you can find this network of people that's really all, you know, supporting the same goal.
Yeah.
It's a
collective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a thing that you can get plugged into and, you know, find your niche.
For sure. All right. So Sammy Brew told you no on multiple occasions.
He told me yes.
That's what we've learned today.
On multiple occasions.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I got that backward. Multiple occasions. He said yes. So we still
wait. I got one more answer to that though. Because also Republicans. I reached out to the Republican opponents of all of the Democrats that I spoke to. John Johnson was just not combative, but not interested at all. I don't even think he wrote back to me. The guy up here in this House district, he didn't even have an opponent, but he didn't want to come talk to me. So anyway, some people do not have that motivation.
John Johnson, you could tell he was feeling the heat towards the end because so I'm a registered Republican, so I can vote against Republican interests. Anyway, we're here in Utah, so some of us do that, but I get all the John Johnson mailers and they would get progressively more attacky toward the end. Like this left wing bitch. Like, oh my God, John, you know what so I love his mailers because like, you know how your trash gets almost full. It's a clean surface to shove your trash down into the garbage can.
You're right.
But no.
Usually kind of big, fits right on top.
Yeah, it's perfectly
It's like
rectangle.
a compactor.
But no, I mean,
Did you hear the leaked audio, John Johnson?
Oh, is there? No, I did not.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So the first part of it was him kind of talking about how Stacey had done a good job fundraising, and she was putting on a pretty good performance, and how education was really behind her. Then he started talking about how education was not behind him, but it was because he'd basically been behind this whole takeover of the state school board, turning it into a partisan organization, which if you listen to Brent Strait's episode of my podcast, he's on the state school board, and he talks about how that happened. He didn't necessarily say good or bad about it, but he did, talk about how it's kind of changed the tone on that school board a little bit. And so he really was taking credit for that, and he said some other kind of partisan. He might have said some things that were not terrific about women. I don't know. Maybe we'll play it right now.
I mean, without trying to turn this into the politics podcast, I think the Republicans were trying to say less, because I congratulated all my Republican friends and homies. I'm like, congratulations. Yeah. Like I have real good buddies that are, that's fine. I'm not a sore loser. I congratulated him. We're all still friends. We all got love, but
right. Got to do that.
Here's a little tidbit. John Johnson hired a private investigator to investigate her husband. They were digging for the dirt, which I think is probably par for the course. I mean, that's what you do if you got millions. Hey, he's a rich guy, right?
Yeah.
They were trying to dig up some dirt on Stacey's husband, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't fruitful, but he was feeling the heat towards the end for sure, and it was pretty close. What was like a couple thousand votes or something that toward the end it was like 12,000 to like 14,000, or I can't remember the numbers.
Yeah, I think she was around 40%. People who've known me for a while think I'm hyper liberal because I was the chair of we were Democrats for 8 years or something.
Oh, I did not.
But that was because 87% of our government is Republican, and there's no accountability in that. So it wasn't like I'm in love with Hillary Clinton or anything, even though I was in love with Barack Obama.
Oh, dude, I love Obama. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, they and then which gerrymandering. Okay, so they split Ogden into 4 sections, which like the top of Ogden goes to Duchesne or something. Like I don't know, bro.
It goes out to Park City.
And then it was like, here, let's do a what was it, a proposition or a ballot measure?
Ballot initiative.
Should we have an outside bipartisan body recommend? Yeah, let's do that. We voted for it. Cool, it passed. No, we're not going to do that.
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then, I don't know how people aren't outraged about the ballot initiative, even though the Supreme Court rejected it this year and it didn't count on the ballot. The way that they tried to give themselves the power to continue to ignore ballot initiatives like that, and the way that they lied on that ballot, it was
it was worded.
Yeah.
In the interest of election integrity, we want to blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
Like the exact opposite of what it's actually going to do.
Yeah. Luckily, the Supreme Court, the Supreme Courts of Utah, relatively, are they like relatively level-headed? Because there's other things that are hung up because of them that are like damning.
Yeah, they are. I think that they're just kind of like normal, fair-minded, like the judicial system tends to be.
Or like it was intended.
Yeah, but right. But in contrast to some elected officials, they seem very, but I don't know how people aren't mad about that. And it's not conservative or liberal, and it's not Republican or Democrat. That is just like, and that is a clear example of what we're talking about, where when you control 80% of the government, when you know that you're going to get reelected, you know it. And to be honest, they know that a lot of times they're not going to get challenged because of how safe their districts are. And so it's just even that much more easy. I have in my head one time I want to do a video about gerrymandering, because all you got to do is show, like Utah, perfect example of how we cut liberal areas into pies. And then Ogden is another great example. It's just like visually easy to see.
Yeah.
So one day
Yeah.
I want to express
One
that.
day it might be fair. We shall see. On that note, take a drink, John. Take a drink.
Yeah.
All right. So, how does it feel when you're out in public with your family and you are rolling with the baddest PTO president ever imagined?
I like it. It's really fun. When I was with the Democrats, she would always come to events or fundraisers with me and just support me and stuff. And now she's kind of doing that on her own. And I'm showing up and supporting her and just kind of like, hanging out and not having much to do myself.
When the school year started, it was back to school night, and I was there with my wife and daughter. And I was heading over to this table, like, what's this table? My wife's like, don't go there. That's the PTA. Don't go there. I'm like, what? Oh, she's like, they're going to ask me to do so. I'd rather just give them money. She's like, I'll donate, but just don't ask me to do nothing.
Yeah.
That's the difference between our wives here.
Oh. No, I think it goes in phases. Sometimes you're in a donate phase. Sometimes you're in a volunteer phase.
Ooh, all right. What celebrity would you interview if you could, dead or alive? What celebrity?
Oh, man. I mean, it's hard to pick just one, especially right now. I would kind of like to interview Hunter S. Thompson. I've been telling all of my Trump hating friends.
Is he still
lately.
alive?
No.
Okay.
He committed suicide like right before Obama. Maybe it was during Obama. But anyway, but I've been saying to him lately, because I have been reading this Hunter S. Thompson book from back, he hated Nixon so bad. And so I always say to my friends, do you hate Trump more than Hunter S. Thompson hated Nixon? And then, I feel like that helps put it into perspective.
Hunter S. Thompson. Okay, that's your dead.
I don't know.
One.
That's
your
probably
alive
not.
one. No, okay, no.
I mean, he would be, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's like I can't answer like what my favorite food or color is.
Right.
This is probably a lot like that. So, we'll just go.
That's why I'm here to ask the tough question. No softballs in this bitch.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, because it's hard to pick him over somebody like, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln. Or
Genghis
like,
Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse James.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah. I'm trying to think who.
Or even, dude, I would like... This is nerdy as shit.
Okay, let's go.
But I would want to interview one of the first Shoshone chiefs around here. Like I've heard that they only have oral history. You don't know, you don't know the story of how they got
beyond or
right.
down the generations.
Yeah. I would love to speak to somebody who lived here 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, man. Which is funny. Which brings me to religion.
All right.
Speaking of that,
yeah,
I was at physical therapy. I was telling her how I was raised Catholic, and she's like, "Oh," because she's LDS, which I don't criticize. It's fine. Like I have so many Mormon friends, and Jack Mormon friends, but I don't criticize because I used to be religious. And then she's like, used to be Catholic. I'm like, yeah, I'm atheist now. She's like, that is so cool. I'm like, is that? I was like, and I explained to her what changed the story of Jesus Christ had been told so many different times by different, like over 2,000 years, like that. But prior to that, several gods, like Horus, the sun god.
Yeah.
And how the story of it with being born of a virgin and dying, and then 3 days later rose again and died on the cross, and all this was told for 4, 5, 10 different gods before Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right. That's a lot where I am now, is that like, it all can root back into like paganism, Christianity specifically. So like, I grew up Mormon until I was supposed to go on a mission. And then I was like, you have to decide if you really are going to commit to this. And then I was like, I'm not sure. My best friend growing up was Catholic. So we spent all of our time just like comparing shit. So once you start kind of expanding that, then you start to see all that. My dad got excommunicated from the church when I was like 4 or 5. So he became kind of anti-Mormon. So he would always give me all of
he was straight kicked out.
Yeah.
Like, you got to beg to get off that list, right? And they removed his shit.
I think that was his thing too. He just he kept going to church, but from what I understand, he would like teach his primary class and kind of just say whatever he thought, and he also did some like kind of affair shit, which got him kicked out. But I think he was just testing the boundaries until he got kicked out.
Yeah.
But anyway, but he would take me to like anti-Mormon bookstores. I remember this little place in Salt Lake with just horses didn't exist in North America. I don't know. So yeah, Christianity I started realizing in my late teens that it was like not super logical. But then for a long time, I thought I was still, there's still some kind of creator. I went over into atheism for a while just because when I met Sheena, it was like, she kind of latched onto that. And she's like, you're atheist. And I was reading this Richard Dawkins book that said,
So you're dating Sheena, and she's like, I love atheists. You're like, I am.
No,
you're trying to bag it.
I was dating Sheena, and I was telling her that I thought that God stuff was bullshit. And then she was like, you're an atheist. And Richard Dawkins was like, there's no reason not to say you're an atheist. If there's, if you don't believe in something specific, why default to you believe in God? There's no reason to. Right. And so I was leaning into that, but it's only in the last like 2 years. I have a big spiritual side. I have a big, like, you're connected to your roots, and maybe it's through your DNA, but like there is this kind of heritage I feel, and this like, connection to my past and drawing strength from it. So I still,
would you call
still
that
have science.
Agnostic? Because how about like we don't even need to put a label on it and shit? Because like,
yeah. And I went with humanist for a while because I think that whatever it is, it's all about humans figuring out how to do shit well, solve the problems of violence tendencies before you create all the problems that are going to destroy the planet kind of thing. It's like a existential crisis for any species. Right. So maybe there's something spiritual to that. Maybe it's all very tied in science, Yeah.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe that I believe in like spiritual energy. Mm-hmm. Like I used to drive through valleys that my dad told me were, places where natives would fight with the settlers, the Mormon settlers. And like, I would always feel like you could feel that. I used to go sit on mountains out in the Uinta Basin and just feel that. So there's like something you feel.
I got you.
I don't know about ghosts.
To do a Ghostbusters reference, I have seen shit that'll turn you white.
Yeah.
Yeah. BDO, early 2000s, company out there called Icon. It was a warehouse storing treadmills. And I would load them with the forklift, and they'd go to Sears and all these other stores that don't exist anymore. And that was one of the worst fucking things I ever had experienced. And
really?
It was every night. Treadmills were being destroyed. And the people that worked, so that was just temporary. I'm like, because there was boxes big as like refrigerators, right? Big treadmills. And they were stacked 3 high. And these shits would fall. They never really fall towards anybody. Like nobody was really in danger, but I watched things happen so crazy. And yeah, and my house has, I believe my house is a one owner, grandma, we call her. She passed away in the house. And funny, when we moved in, those bag ladies that you stuff the grocery bags in, there was a bag lady left. And it's still there, and we think that's kind of like the doll that they put under the floor and shit. Yeah. But I mean, just recently. I don't want to get into all the shit I've seen, but just recently, during the month of Halloween. So we're big Halloween fans, and we have my son works at the Junction, at the movie theater, so he brings home posters and shit. But anyway, he brings the Nun too. Poster home, so we always hang it at the end of our hallway. Like when it's dark, all you can really see is her eyes and shit. I don't know, but dude, we were pulling out the Halloween shit, and somehow my dog got in its kennel with the door closed, and like we had the totes. We have an orange tote, one of them, and the lid was, I don't know how, it was leaning up against the door of the dog kennel, and the dog kennel wasn't like locked or nothing, but my dog likes to lay in the kennel. It's not that he all of a sudden got in the kennel. It's how that lid got up against the door, leaning. Like we were like, we were trying all kinds of shit. Like, what did we lean it against the kennel and he like bumped it? There was no way. My dog's fat. It wouldn't have happened. So that, and then like some pictures where we have like these like pictures. They're like the holograms where if you look at it, it's a guy. Then he's all,
like a lagoon.
Yeah. Like a in our hallway with the Nun, where we put up all the scary pictures, 2 pictures had fell, but they weren't hanging. They were just like the extras. The first one I didn't see, we're like, okay, how'd that get there? So like we're looking up and we have them do the double-sided Velcro. We're like, that's weird. Whoa, that's weird. Couldn't explain it. And then the second one, I was in my room where I can see the hallway, and I turned just to watch one fall. And it was falling from higher than any other, like where I had caught visual range of it, it just dropped and landed on the ground. We're like, holy shit, how did that get there? Right now while we're standing here. And so ghosts are crazy. It's either, I don't know, it sounds like feast or famine with us here with some ghost stories. So. All right, John, let's get some general information about the One Ogden podcast. How many episodes do you have now?
Oh, I think like 72 or something.
We're up in the 70s.
Yeah.
And how long you been doing it now?
Dang. It was right around now that I started it. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years. It's probably 2.
Why did you, because we kind of talked about it already, but I want to know why you started.
I had done one podcast before, Junction City Podcast, with some friends. It was more political, so I didn't want that. I think I had an ulterior motive of just, I want this community to be better informed about what's going on in this community. I remember thinking that like if people knew more about what organizations needed as far as volunteers, they would do more of that. Definitely if they knew what kind of artists were out there of all kinds of mediums, they would support it more. Like all the cool stuff here mostly suffers from us not having a lot of good ways to talk about it. Especially like even the ways that we have to talk about it, like there's certain groups who know about one or the other and they stay connected to one pipeline, but we're not unified. And so I just wanted to try to contribute to that in some way.
I love it, man. Besides Resonomics, Sammy Brew, I Amazing, Grandpa Sweats and the Club Mungo. Besides all those, who's another up and coming local artist? And then we can broaden that. It doesn't even have to be music.
Yeah,
like, I don't want you to say Resonomics is cool. He always says that shit.
It's true.
And
I love your music.
Yeah.
And I love all those people's music.
Right.
I mean,
I'm taking
some of them are different
board.
styles.
Taking them off the board, man.
Yeah.
I want to know, have you, someone I should check out?
Well, it's hard to know. Like, I just heard about the Backseat Lovers. I don't know if you know them. Some of them are from Salt Lake, but one guy, I think it's KJ Ward, is from here. And so he does some acoustic music. I saw him once live, just solo, and it was so good. But I'm not sure if I've ever found that online. But his band, the Backseat Lovers, they're blowing up. They're like very big, and it's just this cool like kicky rock. It's really good stuff. I like that a lot. Who else is there? I don't know if those guys are from Ogden. There's a band called Sunfish, who I think is from Salt Lake, and they have some very good rocky stuff.
Yeah, speaking of out of towners, one of my favorites is the Glitter Bombs. I had the opportunity to perform with them last New Year's Eve at the Locals Rock New Year's Eve. Yeah, speaking of, I'm gonna go Grace and Silence. They're
oh yeah.
How about Grace? That's an Ogden band. They're young, man. They got nothing but time ahead of them, man.
Same with If and When. So like Grace and Silence is like the kind of rockin' version. They'll get more metal stuff. Yeah, and they're great guitar players. But then If and When is just like the kind of bluesy, almost jammy. Still kind of rocky though, and those guys are also really great at their instruments. They create good vibes. So I like those guys a lot.
Hell yeah! Check out the acts. Check out the artists. Support the artists. John, I want to thank you for letting me take over your podcast, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. It's like who interviews the interviewer? Me, apparently.
Yeah.
So it was my idea, and he was gracious enough. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. I really wasn't going to take no for an answer. So this will happen, and whether you see it or not or hear it, remains to be seen. Thank you, John.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Boom, boom. This was the One Ogden podcast with Resonomics.
This was going to be the week that I retired this song and stopped using it. But then, man, Resonomics and his little beatbox, and it just, I felt like it went with the song. Had to keep it. So here it is. But next time I might be switching it up. We'll see. Anyway, man, thanks to Rez for coming. Resonomics, it was, it was just something he came up with. We've been doing these hangout creative Fridays, me and honestly people I met through One Ogden. So get creative with people. You want to get creative with me? Let's do it. I got all kinds of ideas. Discords, documentaries, variety show, live news. I don't know. Let's get crazy. Have a great week. Hey, have a great year.